Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive. If you're here, I bet you're as fascinated by the idea of living longer as I am.
Absolutely. It's a question that's been around forever, right? Like, what's the max? How long can we really live?
Yeah. And today, we're going to dig into some brand new research from the Netherlands.
It really challenges some of our assumptions about aging. We'll also be looking at a similar American study that adds another layer to the puzzle.
So we've got some serious science to unpack. Plus, we'll be talking about a real-life case that kind of throws a wrench in everything. Should be fun.
It's going to be fascinating to see how all these pieces fit together.
Okay, let's jump right in. This Dutch study. They looked at data from a whopping 75,000 people.
That's incredible.
Huge data set, yeah. Really gives them a solid foundation for their findings.
So what did they discover?
Well, you know how average life expectancy has been climbing steadily for decades?
Yeah, for sure.
What they found is that while that's true, the maximum lifespan seems to have plateaued. It's kind of like we're hitting a ceiling.
Yeah, for women, the ceiling seems to be around 115.7 years.
Wow.
And for men, it's about 114.1.
So even with all our medical breakthroughs and fancy diets, we can't seem to break past this barrier.
That seems to be the case, at least for now.
It's a little bit of a bummer, honestly. But okay, what about that French woman we mentioned? Jean-Louise Calment. She lived to be 122.
Ah, yes. Jean Calment, the outlier. She's the one who makes us wonder if maybe we don't know the whole story yet.
She definitely throws a wrench in things. Like, does she represent some kind of genetic anomaly?
Could be. Or maybe there were specific lifestyle factors that played a role in her longevity.
Maybe a combination of both.
Possibly. That's what makes her case so intriguing, right? It challenges our understanding of the limits of human lifespan.
Totally. Okay, so we've got this potential ceiling, but then we've also got Jean Calment saying, hold on a minute. Now, you mentioned an American study, too. Did they look at the same thing?
They were also interested in lifespan, but they took a different approach. Instead of analyzing population data like the Dutch team, they focused on these things called cellular aging markers.
Cellular aging markers, what are those?
Basically, they're like little clues within our cells that can tell us how our bodies are aging at a microscopic level. It's kind of like looking under the hood of a car to see how the engine's running.
I see. So they were looking at the biological processes of aging.
Exactly. And what's remarkable is that they arrived at a similar conclusion to the Dutch study. Even looking at it from this completely different angle, they found a lifespan limit that probably won't go much past 115.
So we have two separate studies using totally different methods, both pointing toward a similar limit. It's got to mean something, right?
It's definitely compelling evidence, and it suggests that while we've made incredible strides in extending average lifespans by preventing diseases and accidents, we haven't really cracked the code of slowing down aging itself.
That's a really important distinction. We're better at fixing things that go wrong, but we haven't figured out how to stop the clock, so to speak.
Precisely.
So is this the end of the road then? Should we just abandon all hope of reaching 200?
Oh, I don't think so. Remember, Jean Calment lived to be 122, so clearly there's still much we don't know. Plus, the field of aging research is incredibly dynamic. There are breakthroughs happening all the time.
True, true. So what's next for the Dutch team, Professor Einmal and all those folks?
Well, they've hinted that their research is far from over. They're planning on publishing their complete findings soon, and everyone in the field is waiting with bated breath.
You know, I was just thinking, we've been talking about these studies and these numbers, but this isn't just about statistics, right? This is about people's lives. It's about the potential for longer, healthier lives.
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes this whole topic so captivating. If we could push that lifespan even further, would we want to? What kind of world would we be creating? What are the ethical implications?
That's a great question. Imagine living to 150, 200, even longer. What would society look like? What about work, retirement, families? It's mind-blowing. It really makes you think, huh?
It sure does. And that's what makes this kind of research so important. It raises questions that go way beyond just science. We're talking about the very nature of human existence. What do you think?
I think it's fascinating and honestly a little bit scary too. It's a future full of possibilities, but also a lot of unknowns. Thanks for diving into this with us today.
It's been my pleasure.
And to all our listeners out there, keep those questions coming. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.